nice to breathe, isn't it? Said the juggler to the thief, walking these streets in the light of day. 10 yards ahead of the beast. Oh, you can wear your red hats and talk big and chat about surrounding that campaign bus. But nothing you say matters today, 'cause the future belongs to us. In the dark night, do you feel right? Or is there something that you missed? When you climb aboard, sure you know the scope and grip of Thanos' fist. You've been talking loud with your MAGA crowd about crapping on the Senate floor. Yeah, the world can tell that you're mad as hell and you're not gonna take it anymore. It's nice to unclench your jaw, isn't it? Said Lincoln to the GOP, waving goodbye, wheels up for Florida. Finally free. You've been down so long it looks like up to you, and you've learned to adjust. And nothing you say matters today, 'cause the future belongs to us. I got a space laser, a chilled spade laser, and my phaser set to stun. I'm done cringing, now I'm just binging, watching all those little piggies run. I've been sleeping long and deep, better than the last 4 years. Yeah, we're still in the ship, but we're shuffling it, and I'm managing my fears. It's nice to just chill, isn't it? Said the Bodhisattva to the press. To go for hours without checking your phone, able to catch your breath. Oh, they can scream and hype, giant type about the evil and the treasonous, but nothing they say matters today. The future belongs to us. Nothing they say matters today. The future belongs to us. Nothing they say matters today. The future belongs to us. Thank you. I wrote this next song 38 years ago. Back when it was possible to imagine that a lone conspiracy-fueled gunman acting out their grievances would be an isolated event, something worth thinking about. We know better than that now. Take the kids to the zoo. Take a ride in the car. It's tough to make ends meet when you're unemployed. I'm their daddy, supposed to be a star. Go for a drive on a Wednesday afternoon. and I just can't seem to see it on through. They tell you everything is possible, and then you learn none of it is true. Now I'm shooting everything that gets in front of me. In front of me. Oh, life in America is not what it appears to be. It's not what it's supposed to be. Oh, San Isidro, you're a cheap, ugly little town, and it's a rough life out on the pavement when you're 40, pushing a toy badge on the way down. I don't want no burgers, and I don't want no fries. Just lie down there on that cool tile floor, and the next one that moves is the next one that dies. I'm shooting everything that gets in front of me. In front of me. Oh, life in America is not what it appears to be. It's not what it's supposed to be. Standing in the lobby, everybody around me now is dead. There's a boy outside on a 5-speed bike. I just blew off the back half of his head. I can sense the tension in the news crews and their shotgun microphones. The police have moved back all the cordons. The bullet will be coming now to take me home, and I lie here paralyzed, and I'll think about young John F. Kennedy. Wonder if my wife's climbing over some back seat, try to get away from what's left of me. If my kids can see their crazy hero daddy on TV. Oh, San Isidro, it's life in America. Thank you. And then I'm going to do a couple of new songs. This is off a brand new album that I am working on, and it's called Go Tell Godot. Down here below, we are mired in the darkness, yoked in painful harness in a maze that never ends. But through the gloom. As we eke out grim catharsis, look by these moving targets, and recognize our friends. Inconstant moon shines on saints and sinners as we microwave our dinners. In the belly of the whale, we know the man holds court in the high castle, looking for someone to hassle in a system made of fail. Go tell Godot that we are tired of waiting. Go tell Godot that we are past the hating. Go tell Godot that we are done with him skating, and we're through with asking when there is a light. And it surely bears repeating, we'll all go trick-or-treating when the good days come again. Inconstant moon that shines on saints and sinners as we microwave our dinners. In the belly of the whale, we know the man holds court in the high castle, looking for someone to hassle in a system made of fail. We were mystified by that same old white line fever, a pact of true believers where the lost are never found. I have to say that they found their lethal doses, waiting for apotheosis to finally come around. Go tell Godot that we are all done waiting. Go tell Godot that we're tired of the hating. Go tell Godot that we are done with him skating, and we're through with asking when there is a light. And it surely bears repeating, we'll all have mercy seating when the good days come again. When the good days come again. Got a little feedback here. That's better. Oops. Oh, that's worse. Okay, that's better. Oops. As soon as I play, it's worse. I'm getting like persistent feedback. That sounds better now. This song is called Light at the End. When you're whistling past the graveyard, hear bones singing in the dark, don't you ever start to wonder if this whole world's jumped the shark? In the valley of the shadow, halfway to Halloween, we've been sold a tale of failure and regression to the mean. It's a dream of angel armies descending from the sky. They will come to end the madness, time for everyone to die. No more foregone Armageddon, no half-buried liberty, no more third act desperation, no descent to sunless sea. That's the way we used to do it, ain't the way it goes today. Put on your ruby slippers, 'cause the future's on the way. Well, we heard that bloods are over, saw the shape of things to come, felt despair on that day after watching Pickens ride the bomb. Now we're walking toward the future, learning how to do no harm. Turn our back on hollow nightmares and await our final form. Act in the living present. present, like that old dead poet said. Don't you follow alt-white rabbits and take the time to feed your head. No more foregone Armageddon, no half-buried liberty, no more third act desperation, no descent to sunless sea. That's the way we used to do it, ain't the way it goes today. Put on your ruby slippers, 'cause the future's on the way. We used to cringe at heat death, genuflect to entropy, but now we know that time's becoming is emergent complexity. We ride Laniakea, tracing faces on the flow, poised between the void and plenum, as above, so below. We watch the light from the beginning, perhaps it's the end, but we're in a tunnel of love, on a journey to transcend. No more foregone Armageddon, no half-buried liberty, no more third act desperation, no descent to sunless sea. That's the way we used to do it, ain't the way it goes today. Put on your ruby slippers, 'cause the future's on the way. That's the way we used to do it, ain't the way it goes today. Put on your ruby slippers, 'cause the future's on the way. Put on your ruby slippers, 'cause the future's on the way. Thank you, thank you. I want to thank Motif, thank the folks here at the Parlour, thank Eric for doing sound. This is my last song. I'm going to do a song called Love on the Moon. And I hope everybody will stick around. I think we're doing a little interview thing after this, so please hang around for that. The world has no reason, the world has no mind, and we know it all ends too soon. But when you lose all hope, you end up in a dystopia, as barren as love on the moon. So paint your banners, hold them up high. You know you've only begun, as the earth's only creatures know we will die. We're searching for love in the sun. We live in the shadows, we work in the dark, out of the heat of the long afternoon. Like helpless babies we're caught when fate comes a-calling, and we're falling in love on the moon. So paint your banners and hold them up high. You know you've only begun, as the earth's only creatures that know we will die. We're searching for love in the sun. There's a voice in the thunder, it calls your name, and no one is ever immune to that sudden seizure that will talk you squeeze you as it frees you from love on the moon. So paint your banners, hold them up high. You know you've only begun, as the earth's only creatures that know we will die, searching for love in the sun, searching for love in the sun, searching for love in the sun. Thank you. Please stick around.
Hello and welcome back to Motifs Between the Notes, sponsored by Trinity Beer Garden, R1 Indoor Karting, and Gray Sail. I'm Tess Lyons here today with John McDaid. How are you doing today? You just put on a great performance.
Oh, thank you. I'm doing well. How are you?
Good, good. It's a beautiful day, beautiful Memorial Day. And let's jump right into it. So, can you just walk me through how you got into music and when you first picked up a guitar, you seem to be such a pro on stage playing it.
Well, I have to say, I've been playing for, as you might see, a very long time, given the gray hair.
30, right?
Yes, of course. So I've been playing for about 40 years. I've been, started as a college student and have been working mostly in sort of a genre that's called filk, which is the intersection of folk music and science fiction or speculative fiction.
Really?
So a lot of my songs cross over into that area.
How'd you decide upon that being your genre of choice?
Well, it really, there are actually conventions where people go to perform speculative fiction related music.
Interesting.
And so that's most of where I perform is at those kinds of events.
That's so cool. Do you have like a favorite memory of one of those performances? I'm sure that those can be pretty interesting.
Well, the World Science Fiction Convention, which is the biggest science fiction convention that happens every year.
Where is it held?
It's held in a different place every year. So for 1 year it's in America, and then the next year it's outside the country. So in 2019, I had the chance to go to Dublin for WorldCon and play on a stage in the convention center in Dublin at the World Science Fiction Convention. And that, for me, was just a very special moment because, my father was an immigrant, so came to the U.S. 100 years ago.
Wow.
So for me, this was like a chance to go home and play music like my father, raised me listening to Irish folk music. So that was
must have been so
really
special.
It was a very special moment.
And so, what are the stages like? How many people are in the audience?
It depends. At smaller cons, it could be just a room, the size of the Parlour with, 20 or 30 people.
Mm-hmm.
At a World Con, it could be 100, 150 people
Wow.
in the audience.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Good for you, going back to your homeland.
Yes, it was a very special time.
So you're originally from Brooklyn, New York,
Yes.
right? So and now you're stationed in Rhodey.
In Portsmouth, Rhode Island.
Nice.
Yes.
How long
Yeah.
have you been in Little Rhodey?
Over 25 years.
So you said that you started playing music in college. So how
Yes.
does the music scene differ, do you think, from Brooklyn and Rhode Island? Like,
Well, I played open mics in New York, and had a feature spot at Folk City. Played with Hugh Blumenfeld, who was the headliner at the Speakeasy. When I moved to Rhode Island, the open mic scene here used to be terrific. It's getting back to normal. The last
maybe
couple
because
of years
of COVID?
have just been awful.
I know.
But we have terrific musicians here, and there's a group called the Rhode Island Songwriters Association.
RISA, right? Or
Yes.
RISA?
Yes, and they do events every month. They've got an event coming up next week, a Women in Folk, that's down at the Mediator stage in Providence, that people should go to because that's a really important event. But they're great. There's so many really good musicians here, and we're very close to both Boston and New York, so it's easy to get back and forth.
Despite, COVID and kind of rebuilding that live music scene, how do you think that the live musical performances are here? I mean, the local parlors, the Parlour, I mean, the live music venues that we have here compared to where you've played before, playing in Dublin,
Well, I love the intimate clubs. I love listening rooms, especially because I'm more of a singer-songwriter, so I do all originals.
Mm-hmm.
So I like smaller venues, and we've got a lot of those in Rhode Island.
Mm-hmm. We do. We're very lucky. So, I mean, we've touched on COVID a little bit, but for you, what was that outlet? Like, where did you, for music, would you just play at home, or would you do live streams? A lot of musicians have turned to live
I did
streaming,
live
or-
streams, and also I was able to produce my first studio album during COVID.
Nice. You produced it yourself?
Yes, I did.
Nice.
I worked with some fantastic musicians, uh, Jim Henry, uh, who did guitars for me. The folk, I had two of the vocalists from Red Molly, who did backing vocals, and I was able to do this all remotely, recording in my basement.
You have to get creative.
You had to. It was a time when, in order to maintain a sense of sanity in this last couple of years, trying to find those creative outlets has been so important, and I know it's been important for other musicians as well. I've tried to support as many people as I can online, because that's the only way people have been able to connect.
Yeah, we can't let live music die. I mean, now that we've found loopholes to get around actually going to a concert and seeing it perform live, but we can't just utilize those loopholes constantly. We need to show up. Is that album Filk?
It's actually it's a crossover. So there's some songs on there that are Filk. There's some that are more in the folk idiom. Abby Gardner, who is just an amazing dobro player, plays dobro on something which is a straight folk song. So I took advantage of the people that I could reach out to. These are all folks I met working with a group called the New England Songwriters Retreat, which is run by Ellis Paul every year. And so I met all of these amazing musicians and got to work with people like Ellis Paul and Vance Gilbert on performance skills and writing.
How great is New England? Rhode Island specifically. I mean, the networking is the best here.
It is.
You can find such gems. Who do you look up to musicians-wise, either locals or more worldly, I suppose?
Yeah, I am, I try to set very high standards for myself. I will confess I'm not the world's best guitarist, but I aim for very good lyrics. And so people like Bob Dylan, Robert Hunter, Stephen Sondheim, these are the people that I look at and listen to try to understand, how did they get that to work like that?
It's amazing. I'll listen to Bob Dylan and just be like, I wish I thought of that. Or something. Oh, wow, that's awesome. I'm a huge Tom Petty fan.
Oh, Tom Petty, sure.
So great. I remember I had to take time out of school. I missed a day of school when he passed away because it was so sad.
Yes.
So many greats.
Gone too soon.
Gone too soon.
So many folks gone too soon.
Oh my gosh, it's so sad, but leave behind a hell of a legacy, though.
Yes.
So you mentioned that album.
Yes.
So but when you were performing, you mentioned another album. Are those the same albums?
No, I'm working on a brand new album.
Okay, would that be your second album?
That would be my second studio album.
Nice.
Yes.
Good for you. And what's the theme of that, or your genre, I suppose?
That one is probably a lot closer to filk than it is to folk. It still has the folk guitar idiom to it, but the lyrics are probably more. It's both of the albums I wrote during COVID, so yes, they probably feel like they have things that you would recognize from the past 2 years of history, like the January 6th insurrection. Yes.
Well, I enjoyed a lot of your songwriting because it mentioned major historic events like the Kennedy assassination, and there was a little bit of politics mixed in there, which I appreciated. I like the stance being taken or just kind of nodding to that. Do you think that it's important for musicians to incorporate that stuff, or?
I think for me, I can't speak for other musicians, but for me, art is a political act. And it always is a political act, whether we acknowledge it or not. And if we are not being openly political and, disclosing where we come from, I think that doesn't help the larger conversation. For me, musicians are part of helping society think about the issues that we all face. One of my favorite moments has nothing to do with filk. I was working with the Women's Project here in Rhode Island, and got to sing "Solidarity Forever" in the Senate chamber in the Capitol building. And just, giving the senators a little push, like, hey, reproductive rights.
Yeah,
You know?
no, it matters. I mean, music can move people in so many ways, so you have to
Yes.
utilize that. It's a power tool, really.
Yes, that's how I feel. And, I respect people who don't come to music with those expectations, and that's cool. But, for me, it is an expression of where I see myself situated in a society that has oppressive intersectional axes.
100%. Let's see. So you mentioned a few local people that you've collaborated with in the past. Who are your favorites?
I love Joanne Lergio, who is, she's with Riza, she's just a fantastic musician, as is Jan Luby. They are both, I think they're both terrific. Morgan Johnston, who is an up-and-coming songwriter. A lot of these folks will be playing, I am sure, I haven't seen the list yet, but at the Rhode Island Folk Festival at the end of August, which is
nice.
over in the park in East
We'll
Providence.
keep an eye out, yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, like we said, it's just so great for collaborations in Rhode Island, so that's awesome that you're utilizing that.
Great people here, just
Great
great
people.
people.
So what has been, the ability to play guitar, I remember over the summer, I just wanted to pick up a guitar at a party and learn, and be able to play a song for somebody. Music's medicine. Is that, obviously it's not a power, but is that a skill that you don't take for granted? You have so much power in your music.
I think I think we are all artists until it's beaten out of us by education, right? The way we teach music in school could be a lot better. The way we encourage people to perform and to play could be a lot better. I think it's so important for people to have opportunities to share music in groups. One of the things that happens here in the Parlour is the Quahog Choir, which is just like a pub sing, which is so cool.
It's
right?
so cool.
And just having those lower pressure opportunities for people to perform, so you don't have to be, a concert pianist.
And these out of the box kind of quirky ideas too. A pub sing,
Yes.
who thought of that? It's
Right.
such a great idea.
Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you have the upcoming album coming out. Anything else in the works, or?
I will be playing at the Sounding Board in Lawrence, Mass, coming up in June 10th.
June 10th, okay.
And then I'm, working on the album. Everything that I record is up on on Bandcamp. So
Okay.
it's johnmcdaid.bandcamp.
Yeah, so where can we find your current album?
That's also
Okay.
up on Bandcamp. So it's
Bandcamp, okay.
johnmcdaid.bandcamp.com.
Are you on Spotify or Apple Music or anything?
That album is it's on all the streaming services.
Wonderful.
So any place you look for, and if you search for John McDaid, I'm the one who's not engaged to Courtney Cox.
I looked it up and I was like, is he the lead singer of Snow Patrol?
No. And there was a
He's
really
better.
embarrassing moment at a gig where someone said, I didn't think you were that John McDaid.
Oh my gosh. Pleasantly surprised though.
Well, they stayed. So
Good. Wonderful. Awesome. Well, a new album coming out, and do we have a timeline, or when should we expect to?
Sometime this year.
Okay, wonderful.
It's going to take, I'm in the very early stages, and as you know, everything, when you're doing stuff remotely and
It's
you're
such a
sending
process.
stuff back and forth, it takes a little bit longer.
100%. Well, in the meantime, we'll just be listening to your current album that's out.
Well, I appreciate that very much.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here today.
Well, thank you, Tess.
And thank you guys for watching. I'm Tess Lyons with Motifs Between the Notes. Thank you so much to the Parlour, for Trinity Beer Garden, for Gray Sail, and for R1 Indoor Karting. And thank you to John McDaid for performing. We appreciate it so much, and
Thank
you
you.
did so great.
Thank
Have
you.
a good one, guys, and we'll see you next week.